Well, I love comic book movies, and it's one of the foundations of why I love movies so much. But also, I think when I discovered your channel, like I gravitated towards it so much because of the comic book movie conversations.
I feel like these movies, like you said, they're such great gateway movies into like other aspects of film too. Because
I feel like we're all going for the same thing here.
Only one of us is gonna get it though.
Maybe. All right, I'm gonna go first and take The Dark Knight.
Which one is that?
Welcome to Backseat Directing.
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew,
and Arron with McNeil.
we post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're doing a comic movie draft.
3, 2, 1, action.
Welcome to the show, McNeil.
It's so long since we've seen you.
So long. Same shirt too.
That's his favorite shirt, guys.
Yeah, just wears it all the time.
We're glad to have you back. You said right before we started recording that this is the episode you were really looking forward to recording.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why?
I think well, I love comic book movies, and it's one of the foundations of why I love movies so much. But also, I think when I discovered your channel, like I gravitated towards it so much because of the comic book movie conversations and the drafts.
Yeah.
And
So
I
it's
thought
too
this was so
it's a
cool.
perfect Venn diagram overlap.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet already. Yeah.
I feel like these movies, like you said, they're such great gateway movies into like other aspects of film too, because comic book movies have become their own genre, but they have
Yeah.
so much overlap where some comic book based movies are horror, some are action adventure, some have more romantic elements. So it's like a good gateway into all this other branching areas of film, especially when they have directors coming in like Sam Raimi and directors,
Nolan.
yeah, who have worked in other avenues.
Yeah,
So it's definitely a good gateway drug for movies,
for sure.
especially for young audiences. Like young people love superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Kids,
Yeah.
like me at heart.
Now, we're not just limiting this to superheroes in particular, but any comic movie. So any movie that was based on a comic beforehand. So that does open it up a little bit. But to narrow it back down, we're going to stick with just live action movies only. Otherwise,
Easier.
we wouldn't be able to make a list and make a decision.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to choose when you throw in contention something like Death of Superman and Under the Red Hood. It's like how
Spider-Verse.
do I compare these to these? It gets a lot more complicated.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We're going to be doing a snake draft. Andrew, do you want to explain how that works?
Yeah, snake draft. If you've seen our previous episodes, we always do this when we have drafts with more than 2 people. Aaron's going to use a randomizer to decide the order between the 3 of us, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3. 3 gets 2 picks, and then 2, 1. 1 gets 2 picks, and so on. So that way, it kind of balances out like the fact that you get randomized into an order, you still get to have that extra pick on the tail end.
Mm-hmm. McNeil, what order would you want to be in if
This
you were
time-
able to choose?
I know it would be a while until I get my second pick, but I want the first pick.
The first pick?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a movie that you're going for.
Yeah, because I think it's got a high chance of somebody else trying to take
I doubt it.
first.
No, nobody probably wants that movie. I think you're good. I want the first pick as well.
I don't
for,
think you and I are talking about the same
for
one.
totally unrelated reasons. Nah, we're probably not.
Yeah,
know-
probably not.
I know what I'm talking about.
Probably not. Definitely not.
I want first pick as well, Aaron.
Yeah. I feel like we're all going for the same thing here.
Only one of us is gonna get it though.
Maybe. All right.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to doing the picks with you guys, but I do want to thank the audience before we decide the order. I appreciate you guys for clicking on this video. Make sure that you also click to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our extra content, because we've been putting out pretty much 1 extra episode per week for the most part, and you don't want to miss those. But also go and find our short form content. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and you can find all our clips on there and tons of debates and extra contents. Lots of fun.
And if you want to join in on the conversation even more, join our Discord. The link is in the description of this video. We dive into all these movie topics much more in depth in there. Open forum conversation. We do movie debates, polls. We take suggestions for future episodes. And it's kind of how we got to know McNeil even more.
The polls are fun. I'm trying to get Arron off the poll, but all three of us are in there, as well as other people who are friends of the show and consistent guests on the show, like Justin and Schatz are in there.
Absolutely. And it is completely
Free
to join, so make sure you click that link. All right, ready to find out the order?
I'm so ready.
Drum roll, please. Picking third is Andrew.
Son of a bitch.
Picking second is McNeil.
Oh, that was a trick.
Picking first is the winner.
Damn, he's an actor. There's too many good movies out there for one pick to solidify your team.
I'm not getting.
You're only saying that because you're not going first.
Well, I would be saying the opposite if I was going first, but I would also be kind of lying.
I'm definitely not getting the pick that I want to know.
All right, I'm going to go first and take The Dark Knight.
Which one is that?
Oh, wait, never mind.
Oh.
Never heard of it?
Yeah, is that a Superman film?
No, he's actually not in it. It's an Ant-Man film.
Oh,
Yeah.
Modoc.
Yeah.
That's a good one, dude. That's a good one.
The Dark Knight Quantumania.
That's we're gonna do that every time with every movie now. But there will be blood Quantumania.
I almost don't even know what to say about this movie because we talk about it so much. Like, what haven't we already said about this movie?
I mean, Aaron's second favorite Batman movie. Like, yes.
Andrew's first, and he doesn't have it on his team, so he's crying over there.
Yeah, if you want to vote for somebody who has no morals, then picking a movie that's not even his favorite. Because he knows that people with better taste like me like it more.
All right. McNeil?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Staying in the same track with Batman / Ant-Man. Is the Batman, which is your favorite Batman
Ant-Man and
movie.
the Robin?
I thought for sure you were going to pick Fan Four Stick.
Oh, no, we're saving that for later. But no, the Batman for sure. It's my all-time favorite Batman movie. It's Aaron's favorite Batman movie.
2 or 3 of the people at this table's favorite Batman movie is crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. But we also have talked about that even on my podcast.
It's on the wall.
So yeah, it's on the wall right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Batman. There's not really much to say.
Fantastic movie, super well filmed, and Michael Giacchino's score.
So good. Should
But
have been nominated for an Oscar.
also, Hans Zimmer's score. And
Not as good.
And James Newton Howard, too, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
not as good as Michael Giacchino's
I like how
or Danny Elfman's.
I like how there's 2 scores in The Dark Knight, and one to highlight the Batman and one to highlight Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's cool.
And Hans Zimmer's also like a generational goat.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
Those are 2 really good picks from both of you guys. I love both of those movies. I'll stop pretending that I don't love them. I feel really tempted to pick another Batman movie because then
You
all
should.
3 of our picks would be Batman
to.
movies. But do I go Dawn of Justice or do I go 1989? That's the tough part. We're doing this every episode now. It's getting in there somewhere in every episode. It's been done in like the last 3 release
But
episodes.
there's also like Batman Begins.
Oh God, that's the actual next pick that I would put. That movie's so phenomenal. It's almost Dark Knight level for me.
Almost, though not quite there.
Dude, you're gonna rake me over the coals. But chill out. I happen to like The Dark Knight. Jeez, God, you guys are stupid.
He said that like he's like, I happen to be an alcoholic.
Can I have a brief recess for my original?
You're the one with the time crunch
We
here.
need some
So.
elevator music.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum.
Oh, God, so stupid that you guys took those movies.
What did you expect?
I
That's
knew
what we all wanted number 1.
I knew I was.
It's the same draft order as the other draft we did.
This randomizer's not so
Yeah.
random, huh?
Yeah, it's rigged.
Gosh.
Aaron wants first.
I hit randomize.
Okay. So
Got your pick?
yeah, I got my pick. I've got I think another movie that can stand up with these.
Suicide Squad.
I'm
Batman in it.
I'm gonna take everybody's favorite Avengers movie. I'm gonna take Avengers Infinity War.
Nice.
It's got some of the biggest action blockbuster set pieces You know, you got Spider-Man in a movie with the Guardians, with Iron Man, with Black Panther, with Thor. One of Thor's coolest looks and some of the greatest moments in the MCU.
Yeah.
When he says, "Bring me Thanos." Yeah, it's a great movie. Thanos, one of the greatest villains of all time. I think
100%.
I've got to go for a heavy hitter like that if I'm going to try and stand next to those first picks.
Yeah.
But I actually get two, so I get to go again.
McNeil was talking yesterday about how Infinity War is one of the first movies in the MCU where the heroes actually lose
Yeah.
at the end.
And I
Aside
love
from Civil War. Yeah.
And I love the heroes losing at the end too, because it's a perfect segue into Endgame. It's like they truly are defeated, and then we jump years forward. Like, it's not like they're defeated and then the second movie picks up, 10 seconds afterwards. It's like they're defeated, and the next movie picks up like 5 years later.
Yeah,
they've lost, and then they kill Thanos, and it still feels like they've lost until like much further into that movie.
And I just rewatched it the other day, and I said this yesterday when Arron was over at Justin's for Cinema 3D, and you can like feel the threat of Thanos throughout that entire movie. No matter how many times you watch it, it's still just like as like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Well, the great thing about that movie too is Thanos is so much more intimidating than so many other villains. I mean, like Malekith, or even watching the legendary masterpiece Ant-Man Quantumania, you don't feel that much fear towards Kang in that movie at all, especially by the end when he gets defeated by a horde of ants. I mean, in this movie, Thanos shows up and body slams the Hulk, and you're like,
and
oh,
Hulk is scared.
Shit. You're like, Hulk is scared at like that. Not even Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner. The essence of the Hulk is shrinking back into Bruce Banner. He's
never
like
the same again.
Yeah, it's irreparable damage to the psyche of the Hulk. Snaps Loki's neck. Would have killed Thor if he doesn't get saved by Idris Elba.
What's really use you right now? No.
Man, yeah, that's very affecting. Everywhere he goes, like his footfalls are like an earthquake. When the Guardians pull up on him and he ends up like taking Gamora, that whole sequence is like, we got him, and then he's like, actually no, false reality. You guys are all spindles on the ground, and nothing is. You don't worry that anybody could even hurt him. You're like, how are they going to beat him? So it's a great build up to Endgame, to them fighting Thanos.
100%.
Dude slams Cap into the ground. Slams our boy.
It's the best Avengers movie, I think.
No. It's okay.
I had to admit,
Andrew doesn't even agree with you.
It's not my personal favorite Avengers movie. I like Age of Ultron a lot.
That's your favorite?
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
What?
Dude, Hulkbuster.
that's crappy taste.
Hulkbuster versus Hulk. Like, that's what, like, the Thanos versus Hulk is like a nothing fight. It's like a little
That
1-2
fight's so
combo.
cool.
It's cool, but like Hulkbuster versus Hulk is go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. I mean, but Infinity War is like the Avengers movie. It's like the first Avengers is like building the team, and then Infinity War is like the Avengers are here.
I'm surprised. I didn't realize Age of Ultron was your favorite.
I have a unique favorite that a lot of people.
I like the scene in Age of Ultron.
Fake fan over
they're
here.
trying to pick up the hammer.
Yeah,
that scene is
and then Hulk goes
top tier.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's a lot of creative stuff in that movie. And I like James Spader's voice a lot for Ultron.
Yeah.
But I have to pick another movie, and man,
For my second pick, I'm going to take Ultron.
which I genuinely would, but
you're not going to.
I want a little bit more diversity to my team. I feel like it's so hard to please everyone when you pick these teams. You know what I mean? I'm going to go with what I consider another super iconic fan favorite superhero movie. I'm going to pick X2.
That's a good one.
I think X2 is, like we talked about in our last episode, it's one of those movies where you can be like, if we didn't have X2, we wouldn't have.
But this is really that.
Yeah. X2 is early days, and so much good characterization for Logan, his relationship with Stryker. So many good different characters throughout the X-Men universe. I mean, we've got Kitty Pryde, and we've got Bobby as Iceman, and Pyro, and
the introduction of Nightcrawler.
Yeah, the development of the relationship between Professor X and Magneto, and like the complications therein. I think it's such a good movie where we get the other side of Magneto, where he like rolls onto the good guys team and he
Yeah.
fights alongside them, but with his own agenda, where eventually he even becomes the villain of the movie, trying to turn Cerebro against humanity.
Right.
An appearance of Legion, even if it's kind of a wonky version of Legion, but he's a wonky character. And Brian Cox is so amazing in this movie as Stryker. He's an incredible villain. So we have two great villains with Ian McKellen's Magneto as well. Not Magneto. I'm trying to say Mystique is amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
So just such a great cast of actors as well as characters for this movie. And I love, like, tell me that Magneto breaking out of prison off of like 2 ounces of iron in a guy's blood isn't like one of the best scenes
That
in
is a
comic
cool
book movie
scene.
history.
I haven't seen X2 in a very long time.
It's
I haven't seen it in
so
a while
good.
either, but I really like it. It's a good movie.
Yeah, Cyclops, Jean Grey, a whole host. I think Beast, his first appearance is in that movie too. Beast, or does Beast show up in 3?
It might be 3.
Yeah,
Might
The
be
Last Stand.
Yeah.
Because I know he's heavily in 3, the
Yeah.
political aspect. All right, that's my turn.
McNeil,
Cool.
what you got?
All right, so for my number 2 pick, I'm gonna go with Avengers Endgame. I think it's the second best Avengers movie, but honestly, on the exact same tier as Infinity War.
Better.
The second best Batman, the second best Avengers.
I'm,
Looks like your team's
I'm not
second best.
He's also
First loser.
He's also second in the draft order. I think that it's crazy that you would say that's the second best when Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania exists. But
Right.
fair enough.
Maybe I need to switch my pick. But Endgame, I think, even though I think Infinity War is the better movie, Endgame has the most iconic moments, I think, because you've got Captain America lifting up Mjolnir for the first time. You have the portal sequence. You have Iron Man snap with I am Iron Man at the end.
I am
But
Iron
you
Man.
also have Fat Thor.
Fat Thor, Professor Hulk.
Yeah, that's one of the downfalls of the movie, I think.
I actually don't mind the character arc of Fat Thor. Professor Hulk is the one I have a little bit more of an issue with because I want just Rage Hulk.
Yeah, it takes all the best parts out of Hulk that we love from the Incredible Hulk.
But I think if it wasn't so comedic with Thor, then that makes sense for like his character to go like just totally let loose.
He's
because
been
lost
so
everything.
much. Yeah.
So it makes sense. I just wish it wasn't like Thor Bowski. It was more like a depressed Thor. Like that would have been more tonally consistent with
Thor
Infinity
Bowski.
War.
I love that.
But yeah,
I like Thor in the beginning of that movie when he's just like out for blood and he's tests Captain Marvel and like Stormbreaker comes to his hand and she doesn't flinch and he goes, "I like this one."
Yeah. But no, I think it's a great movie. It was. I mean, it's the second highest grossing film of all time. And
behind Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Right. And it's just I don't know, it's so iconic and it was one of the best theatrical experiences that I think the collective comic book movie fandom has had.
What's the highest grossing movie of all time? Is it Way of the Water or
Avatar?
Yeah,
the first Avatar, because they put it in theaters like 3 times.
They kept going back and forth like this, and it's been Avatar now for a few years. So yeah, but Avengers Endgame I'd have to take as my number 2.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It's a good pick. I think for me, my only problem with Endgame and my main problem with Endgame is that it feels like there's parts that I want to skip when I watch the movie again. Like Infinity War is a lot easier for me to rewatch and just sit through the whole thing. Endgame has parts to me that I'm like, oh, this part's kind of slow. I kind of want to skip to like the next good part. But the highs are so high in that movie.
I think the pacing of both works really well. I actually like that Endgame takes more of that dramatic, slower side to like the first act where you just get to see the heroes grieve, and which is kind of what when you were talking about with Infinity War, like it's a nice transition to it. And I feel like that the pacing of that works really well. And
I mean, for me, it's more like the time travel parts, like Thor in traveling back to the time period of the Dark World is like I feel like it
redeems that movie a little bit though. I thought all of the time travel stuff was cool.
Teach their own.
Yeah.
All right. For my next pick, I'm going to take my favorite X-Men movie, and that is Days of Future Past.
Solid pick.
It's a fantastic movie. I don't know how much audiences that wide agree with us thinking that it's like the best X-Men movie.
I concur.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people.
Pretty big sample size right there. It's 3 for 3.
A lot of people that I meet will like. I think Zach also thinks it's his favorite X-Men movie as well.
Oh, 4 for 4.
But I think X2. I picked X2 because I think like wider audiences like that's a very common favorite X-Men movie.
Maybe you're wrong.
I could be wrong.
I think it's the best like X-Men movie, and then there's also another one that I think is in the conversation for the best, but it's not X-Men. So
yeah. Well, I think this one has like the best version of all of the characters.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially my favorite Wolverine.
Yeah.
So
and
cool
that
in that
that
movie.
scene with Patrick Stewart's Professor X talking to James McAvoy's Professor X.
Yeah.
That's such a profound scene.
Yeah.
I love that entire interaction. I think that's the best moment of that whole movie.
It's like an outer body experience for
Yeah.
comic book movie fans. It's
Yeah,
like
it's so
reaching
cool.
across generations.
And the fact that movie like came out before we had like some of these even bigger like comic book storylines like Infinity War and Civil War.
Yeah, without this, we wouldn't have gotten the Avengers.
We really would have. It's just like the fact that was like we had. It's kind of like X-Men's Infinity War in a way, or Endgame or whatever, and it came out before all that stuff, and I think that's pretty cool.
My next pick is gonna be in the MCU.
Okay.
And it's gonna be Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Oh, good pick.
Yeah. Somebody had to pick that.
Yeah. And I am glad it is me, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time, not even just in the MCU, but out of all movies. I love the kind of spy tone that it has, this thriller aspect to it. It's definitely more grounded. I thought the kind of the twist where they were in that underground bunker, and what's the guy's name comes on the screen from the first Avenger or first Captain America?
Yeah.
Or something.
Baron Zemo is
He's
from
Civil War.
Civil War, but his name sounds like it.
Yeah.
Zola. Arnim Zola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from Civil War.
Baron Zemo is from Civil War, but Arnim Zola is from First Avenger.
Gotcha.
That's why I get them confused.
Yeah. But yeah, love this movie. I think it's a great addition to my team.
Some of the best action fighting choreography, literally, of all time.
The knife drop is iconic.
You weren't even going to bring that up, dude. You're wild for just ending your turn to speak like that. The knife drop and the unveiling of Bucky as his mask falls off. I also think Winter Soldier has some of the coolest character design of any villains in the MCU. Also, some of the coolest dynamic between the hero and the villains, like a brotherhood bond, lost for years and like reunited with like this mind control aspect of Bucky. Super complex motivations between those two. Cap has to fight him but doesn't want to. And he's just like a zombie coming to like mess him up. Like it's really, really cool movie. And that bridge sequence with the knife fight is just an all-time in the MCU.
For sure. McNeil?
I'm really struggling to decide because
also the Russo brothers' entry into the MCU.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which like totally changed everything.
Yeah.
You changed things.
We wouldn't
forever.
Infinity War Endgame.
I'm struggling because there's a character that we haven't talked about yet that's kind of surprising. It had none of that person's movies have made anybody's list. But then I've also got like some personal choices I want to go for, and I'm not sure which direction to go. I think I'm going to go with Man of Steel because I want to get my personal choice out of the way. I think that movie is very underrated. It was not as well received, I think, as it should have been, but I think it was ahead of its time. I think Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. I really
best Superman.
Yeah, best Superman. Yeah, I will agree with that. I was thinking about Clark Kent. Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent is just so good. Anyway,
his Superman's really, really good as well.
Yeah, no, it is.
Christopher Reeves is amazing.
But I think Zack Snyder's vision for that movie is really cool, and I really like that it humanized Superman, and it didn't take the campy direction, and it was more like, what if Superman existed on Earth? How would people react to that? And then obviously the Batman vs Superman storyline carries that over.
Yeah, it also focuses on Superman's upbringing a lot, so it focuses on like the struggles of being an alien, and like in terms of the metaphor of like feeling out of place. You know, it's like also kind of an immigrant story as well, which is really interesting approach. And I feel like they take this really somber, deep, introspective approach to Superman, whereas
philosophical.
They could have been like, man, I have superpowers. Isn't that badass that I can fly and lift a truck? But instead they were like, you're different. People aren't ready. And it was like really a thought piece too.
And there's scenes in that movie that people take issue with that I don't really agree with.
Like breaking Zod's neck?
Yeah. Like I think that was interesting because you have to do something different. Like obviously Christopher Reeve Superman would have never done that. Same with Brandon Routh because he's the same Superman. But we had to take a different route with it, and I think you had to kind of push the boundaries and ask those what if questions. But then also the tornado scene. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Like I think for his dad to say like, no, like you don't need to show the world who you are and sacrifice himself. I thought that was a very moving scene. And then also Hans Zimmer score is the best comic book movie score of all time. So
Yeah,
that
The
was
Dark Knight.
no, Man of
Which is on
Steel.
my team.
Oh, Man of Steel.
And I had to choose it for that because it's like that's a top 5 score of all time.
Yeah,
for
that
me.
score is amazing.
It's so good.
It cuts through to the heart.
It does.
But
Another really cool thing about Man of Steel that you didn't bring up is just like the physics of them flying
Yeah,
and the destruction that they display when they're fighting in the city.
yeah.
It looks so real.
people hate
Visuals
that.
are so
People
good.
hate that the city's getting destroyed while he's fighting, which I don't totally
which is
understand.
much better than like the Flash when they're fighting in this giant random field
Yeah.
outside of the
Well,
city.
it's like the city's
Yeah.
getting destroyed, and yes, Superman should try to prevent that, but also the world is getting destroyed, and
Yeah.
Superman's trying to prevent that.
Right.
Like, give him a break. It's his like year one of being Superman.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
but just the physics of them like taking off and bracing themselves after they do get hit and like sliding across the
Yeah.
road, like it looks so good.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And I think I'm not even the hugest Zack Snyder fan, but I think he is a visual director.
Visual,
and
stunning.
And his style in Man of Steel just really shines. And like that scene where he's standing on top of that giant pile of skulls and
Mhm.
just the
Yeah.
color grading of everything just looks so cool.
Every Kryptonian hit in that movie hits so hard.
Yeah,
The Kryptonians feel like tanks, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that scene where Zod shows up and it like comes in through all the TV screens, like it's kind of scary. if you
Chilling.
think
Yeah,
about it.
there's-
Like
yeah.
if you were imagine yourself there in real life, like experiencing that, it'd be like, what is even happening? I think multiple people would have died of heart attacks.
There
from
is
that.
someone among you. You turn him over to me. Like,
And Michael Shannon as Zod.
I trained my whole life
Fantastic.
for this.
Yeah.
Where did you train, Cal? I was bred to be a warrior. I love the Michael Shannon moment when he's like, I will find him. I will find him.
And that track, I Will Find Him on Hans Zimmer's score, is so good.
Yeah. As he's getting sent into the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
My-
Yeah, Man of Steel. That was my personal choice, personal pick.
I don't know how much the audience will resonate with that, but I fucking resonate with it. And it gave us the scene of Henry Cavill running shirtless, soaking wet towards that clothesline. And that's the gif I've probably
I want to
used
be
the
that
most in my
yoke
life.
Sunday.
Dude, that's the dream.
I was
That's
hoping Aaron
that
could
is
help me get that goal by the time I leave
Yeah.
tomorrow.
He's just way protein
Gotta
powder
end this
in-
podcast right now.
Dude, that is the ideal male form. Like that hairy chested. I love
Perfect
hairy chested.
specimen.
Superman. Yeah. Does that bring you back to me?
No,
No?
I'm kidding.
We're
Oh.
McNeil?
Yeah, my number 4 pick.
What the hell's going on here? Okay. I'm excited to have 2 more picks. You guys haven't taken the ones that I wanted the most. For my 3rd pick of the draft, I'm going to take Captain America: Civil War.
Good pick. Avengers 2.5.
I think that exactly.
He has 2 Avengers movies. He's really going for the diversity.
Diversity, yeah.
It's not about diversity. It's about winning. Have you guys heard of winning?
You said diversity
Would lead to winning.
earlier in this.
I said
Episode.
diversity would lead to winning. I got to run the tape back on that.
You're like, I
Something like
would
that.
take Ultron, but I need more diversity on my
Oh,
team.
Yeah. That's.
I mean,
what
that's
I'm
not
getting
saying diversity leads to winning.
at. It implies.
And this is also a Captain America movie. It just happens to have a lot of other Avengers in it. So I'm getting a Captain America movie for my team. You got a Captain America movie for your team.
I
did.
don't. I'm not picking First Avenger. I mean, I think it's a great movie, but I'm not gonna pick
You
it.
can take the 4th one.
Oh yeah, Brave
Brave
New
New
World.
World.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Civil War for a second. So Civil War, like you said, has a lot of Avengers elements in it. It's got the Russo brothers back.
Yeah.
What I really like about these 2 picks is I think they're Infinity War and Civil War, I think, are 2 of Zach's favorite movies. Zach's on the show a lot. I think he's a good example of like a big fan of the MCU, and I think he identifies with thoughts that a lot of people in the MCU fandom identify with. So I think these are good vote winners, Infinity War and Civil War. They have some of the best, most iconic moments in the MCU, which is like a big part of the comic book movie discussion.
Sounds like you're just gunning for Zach's vote here.
Zach is one of like 3 people that comment on our things.
Can I comment? Because I am normally one of the 3.
Yes.
Then I'm voting for myself too. Wow, so you guys just have no thoughts on Civil War, huh?
Civil War is really good. I think it's like it's neck and neck with Winter Soldier for like which one I think is the best. And it goes back.
But
and
it
forth
does
for me
go-
every day.
Civil War, then Quantumania, then Winter Soldier.
The top.
I would
three.
go Civil War, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Quantumania.
Way up here. That joke will never die. I just really love how Civil War introduced us to both Black Panther and Spider-Man for the first time in the MCU. Let's remember that.
With
They did a great
ease,
job
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's very like smooth. And,
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Stark went headhunting for heroes and brought us back Spider-Man, brought us back Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing, like seeing Spider-Man hold the shield in that movie. And that movie, I think, is like where Spider-Man's the funniest. When he's
I
like,
agree
"You
with
dropped
that, yeah.
this," and flings it back.
You
at
guys
Winter
seen
Soldier.
that really old movie?
With the walkie thingies? He's super funny. Underoos.
Was that your favorite Spider-Man suit or your favorite Spider-Man? It's yours, right?
No,
He picked it on his draft team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
for the debate, I argued for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but my favorite Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield.
When I'm talking about the
suit.
The suit.
For
the suit
draft that
yeah,
we did.
that's my favorite live action suit.
Okay.
Is the Stark suit, which first appears in Civil War.
Yeah.
Even more than TASM, the first one.
Not for me. The TASM 2 was my
TASM
favorite.
2 is your favorite.
Yeah.
I love
TASM 1's my favorite.
well
That was
the
cool too. I like the black.
Yeah.
the Stark suit introduced us to the reactive eyes, which lets Spider-Man express and emote
That's
more
cool, too.
clearly. And I mean, yeah, Andrew Garfield does the best job of like physical, performative, like bodily acting.
Mhm.
But the eyes let you do a lot more with Spider-Man, like surprise and shock and
Mhm.
different things.
I
So
just like how comic accurate the TASM 2 suit is. It's just so like clean. And
I like the
Yeah.
colors of the Stark suit a lot. The
I do too.
vibrant blues and reds. I feel like it's very Spider-Man.
Yeah, and the one in No Way Home I think is really cool too, with the shiny blue.
Oh yeah, Aaron hates that one.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like,
Sorry, bud.
that's okay. I'm not that attached to it. It's just cool.
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
Civil War.
What do you got, Andrew?
I gotta go to my fourth pick. I mean, everyone's doing it. Might as well hop on board. I'm gonna go ahead for my fourth pick. I'm gonna take Batman Begins.
Nice.
I think there's somebody that's consistently in our comments saying that Batman Begins for them is like just as good as The Dark Knight. So maybe I
Is that
can
you?
win their vote. It might be Justin. I think Justin likes Batman Begins basically just as much as The Dark Knight.
He does like it a lot.
So Batman Begins for me. You know, if we didn't have Batman Begins, we wouldn't have The Dark Knight. It introduced us to Chris
I hate
Nolan.
this.
Introduced us to Chris Nolan's world of the Batman. Took on this really super gritty approach, which they've always had somewhat for Batman, but like this took a very hyper realistic approach to Batman, as much as you can to a superhero story, and gave us like, super iconic lines. One of my favorites being, "It's not who you are underneath, but what you do that defines you." I
Good line.
literally closed my freshman year of high school. I closed my final paper in my English class with that line, quoting The Dark Knight, or not quoting Batman Begins. But there's
Got the Dark Knight on your mind, huh?
yeah. But they're both great movies. I love Batman Begins. I think it's the most Nolan of the Batman movies because it has that kind of storytelling where it switches between flashbacks, kind of like Man of Steel, where it switches to flashbacks.
Yeah, it's actually when I rewatched Man of Steel recently, I noticed that Batman Begins and Man of Steel are structured just the same, which is interesting because
He wrote on it.
he started writing it and then passed it on to Zack
Jonathan.
Snyder because he didn't want to direct it.
Didn't Jonathan Nolan write it with him too? I think
It was, and
Okay.
then who was the other writer that was writing on the on Dark Knight Rises with him too? There was another guy,
I don't know.
but yeah, I think they were all kind of writing it together and passed it over to Zack Snyder because I think Nolan wanted to move on and went to go do Interstellar, but
Which is kind of smart, so that he's not only doing superhero movies. I mean,
Yeah.
a director like him, I could see wanting to do other stuff.
yeah, but it makes a lot of sense and
I feel like he was a producer on it too.
I think so.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was. Yeah, I think he might have been an executive
they-
producer or something.
Producers have a lot of say in what happens.
Yeah,
in
so
the
he
movie.
was involved in
There's
Man
that
of Steel.
non-linear form of
Yeah.
story.
And then as soon as he stopped being involved,
but
to
what,
the DCU.
but
Yeah.
but what I love about Nolan with Batman Begins is that storytelling and how that storytelling connects to the development of the character of Batman from childhood, literally from the death of his parents to his teenage years to his college years, and showing that the development of the thinking of Bruce Wayne into the thought of Batman and understanding the corruption in Gotham, and the need for Batman to be created as a symbol of fear for villains and hope for Gothamites. And I feel like it really highlights, like I've always said on the show time and time again, how Batman goes out on his own and experiences living as someone destitute, someone forced to steal to satiate their hunger because he's literally starving, had to steal on the streets. And putting Batman in the perspective where he's not just this rich kid going out to beat on people who are less fortunate, but he understands who needs that kind of approach and that kind of punishment and who just needs help. And also, I mean, there's a lot of philanthropic endeavors in that development of that character too, with that backstory. Because later on in The Dark Knight, we know that he's one of the biggest proponents of like supporting the orphanage and things like that. He really does not care about money in any sense.
Yeah.
But they do such good character work in that movie. And then you've got Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow with Cillian Murphy, which is amazing actors with amazing performances. Morgan Freeman, and then
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine is the best Alfred, bar none.
100%.
Don't even talk to me about that. Oh, why do we fall, sir? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. God. Or when he's like all those push-ups and you can't even lift a bloody log. It's
my favorite.
so
the one I
good.
quote the most is, "I failed you, Master Wayne." You know, that scene just
So
like,
sad. Oh, and
scene
in
is so-
Rises, right?
Yeah, that scene
Dude,
is so sad.
I cried when I watched that in theaters. I was like 13 years old crying. But then we didn't even name Gary Oldman as also the best Commissioner Gordon. Yeah. We're just two men. Or he's like, I'm just one man. No, we're two. He puts the stapler down.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. I love Begins. I'll go home and watch Begins right now. I'm very happy with the way my team's stacking up.
But people don't like Katie Holmes in that movie.
Yeah, I mean they call her wooden, but like
I don't really get it, to be honest.
They like
she was good.
This character of, I feel like she's fine, but Rachel Dawes, I feel like in the writing just doesn't have enough to do with the Begins or the Dark Knight. For like, it doesn't matter who you cast. Like when you bring in Catwoman in the third one, it's like, oh, now his love interest is like a superhero or like somebody with she has a skill set. She's still a lawyer, but like
she's valuable.
Yeah,
someone with worth.
They're like finally someone in leather. But Rachel Dawes, I feel like they don't give her enough to do outside of being Batman's love interest.
Yeah.
Whereas like Emma Stone has a lot of involvement in like TASM too.
Yeah, that's the best comic book movie romance of all time. I think is Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Helps that they were dating, but yeah,
it's a great one.
Yeah.
All right, where does that bring us?
All right, so what is my number 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a Spider-Man movie because nobody's picked a Spider-Man movie. I just don't know.
Maybe
I picked Captain America: Civil War, so
it's not a Spider-Man movie. But I'm torn between two. There's one I feel like I could go with that might get me a little bit more votes, but the other one could too. I'm gonna go with Spider-Man: No Way Home because you have all three of them in there. And all the villains too, and it's a great movie. I think the setup isn't necessarily the best, but the payoff makes it all worth it. And I
great
think
theater experience.
Yeah,
I really wanted to pick a Spider-Man movie, but I feel like amongst the Spider-Man movies, it's hard to like earn votes because people are so split up amongst this three Spider-Man movies. That's what took me away from picking one.
Yeah,
because I feel like people there's one person that's gonna be like, "Oh, you picked No Way Home, that's great," and someone else is gonna be like, "Well, I like the older movies." Like that's what had me hesitant. But it's smart to pick the one with all three.
Yeah, we haven't gotten like that perfect representation of Spider-Man on the big screen.
No,
in live action at least, like we have like for the Batman, and we've had
Wolverine.
Multiple. Yeah, we've had multiple versions of good movies with those characters, and Spider-Man, like you said, is very split.
That's why when I was thinking about picking a Spider-Man movie is when I pick X2, because I was like, I feel like everyone likes X2.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Like I love TASM, the first one, but it's not the best movie ever.
Yeah,
you know?
I like it a lot too. Andrew Garfield's my favorite Spider-Man.
For all three of us, I feel like that is unusual.
Yeah, for everybody in the room's favorite Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield.
But
I feel like it's not close.
I feel like he's the best actor, which is part of it. Like
no, for sure. He's an incredible actor. He's one of the best of his.
They're all great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I have to go Spider-Man: No Way Home just because like it is a fun movie to watch. There's the iconic moments. You get to see all three together, and it does of the Tom Holland movies. That's the one that feels like a Spider-Man movie, whereas the other two don't because he's either in DC or Europe.
Right.
But yeah, like it's so much fun. And
Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is like it's like he hadn't taken 20 some odd years off.
Yeah,
from playing
it's like he was on break for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
he was right back in it, and then Alfred Molina
right back up. Alfred Molina is great.
Great
the
facial
improvement
work
on
on that
Jamie
too.
Foxx for Electro, and then the death of Aunt May hits really hard, and the ending where Spider-Man makes the sacrifice to
Yeah.
basically become completely alone
Yeah.
in the world.
The death of Aunt May is weird for me though, because I feel like they omitted the death of Uncle Ben and then put in the death of Aunt May, which is like it's different.
but
which is
multiverse.
yeah, the multiverse. I mean, Aunt May does die in plenty of stuff. If she dies in the video game,
Yeah, but I think it was between that and Spider-Man 2. But I just my personal favorite is Spider-Man No Way Home. So Spider-Man 2 is just as good.
yeah, Spider-Man 2 I think would have been a hot pick for audiences too. But then again, there's people that are like, I'm not so much
Yeah.
a Toby guy, but that one Spider-Man 2 is amazing.
Yeah.
So Aaron's pick.
Yep.
All right.
Aaron's like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. McNeil's favorite. I'm gonna take. I hate using this point, but the one that started it all, and that's gonna be Iron Man.
Cool.
Yeah, you didn't hold any water to that when I picked 2008 in the year draft.
Yeah. But yeah, the Iron Man. We get Robert Downey Jr.'s first appearance as Iron Man, Tony Stark, who is a perfect cast.
Bad casting.
Bad casting. Come on now, you can't even say that.
Not as good as the casting from ODOC.
That was iconic.
Yeah, and that's why none of us actually picked that because
It's too iconic.
You drafted it for
Yeah.
your top 5 villain, or you picked it for your top
There-
5 villain list.
there
right?
wouldn't-
yeah, Modoc the dick.
there wouldn't be like a competition, if any of us took that movie. So
Yeah,
we didn't. We just
right.
stayed away.
It would be the obvious winner.
Yeah.
we want to just wrap this up.
Yeah. And Aaron picks Quantumania. Thank you for joining Backseat Direct.
Please vote below in the comments
Yeah.
for Aaron.
Yeah. As Andrew McNeil did not pick Quantumania. But this was
Jeff Bridges, Gwyneth Paltrow,
yep, and then
Terrence Howard.
this is arguably the best suit that we've gotten for Iron Man.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of people's favorite. It's one of your favorites, right, of the Iron Man suit?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of really cool moments, like where he's in the desert, his arms out wide, and he's got the explosion behind him. Also, the part where he shoots the missile and turns around, we get the explosion right behind him as he's slow motion walking away.
That scene is so cool.
That's so cool. Or I remember when I first watched it, thinking how cool it was when Iron Man went to that village and the bad guys were holding guns to the civilian's head, and
Yeah.
he had the two little things come up, and they facial selected the bad guys and just and
Yeah,
knocks them
that
out in
was-
like 1
that was
second.
cool.
I was like, oh, that was sick.
Yeah.
Or when he rizzes up that reporter.
Yeah.
Equally
Oh,
sick.
yeah.
So that's my 4th pick. My last pick is going to be the first comic movie that's not a superhero movie that has been picked today. And that is going to be Kingsman Secret Service. First one.
Cool.
I
I've
feel
never
like-
seen those.
They're great movies. But I feel like that might end up kind of knocking your team. Like, when you make that last pick and somebody comments and they're like, Aaron had me until he made that 5th pick. I mean, that's a great
Are you
movie.
quoting me?
I feel like you're just saying that to put it out there in the world to make that happen.
I would never
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Kingsman, when I first watched it, it blew me away. The action was different than anything I've seen before. It was very brutal and stylized. You can't bring up Kingsman and not mention the wonder in the church. It was shocking. My jaw was on the floor watching that scene. We got Samuel L. Jackson with his lisp as a villain. That's a good villain
Yeah.
that you haven't seen, right? You have,
He's an okay villain.
shut up.
What about the other actors, Aaron? What about the other actors in the movie?
Taron Egerton. Yeah.
Colin Firth.
What's the girl's name?
I don't remember who's in it.
Oh,
I haven't
you
seen
don't
it. I
remember her
haven't
women?
seen it in a long time. Aaron, what's her
That's
name?
crazy. I'd have to look it up.
I don't remember it either of them all too well because it's been probably like 5+ years since I've seen either of them.
Yeah. That wraps up my team, McNeil.
All right.
Who are you taking?
So I have a couple I could take, but I'm gonna take one that I'm surprised hasn't even been picked yet, which is often considered as part of the conversation for like one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and that's Logan.
Okay.
Nice.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm safe.
I didn't want to take Logan because I had Days of Future Past.
That's fair. Yeah.
which I liked more.
I have X too.
I saw Logan in theaters when it came out. It actually came out on my birthday, on my 17th birthday. And the reason that's significant is because I could finally buy a rated R movie ticket. And
Yep.
they finally made a rated R Wolverine movie. It was just like everything aligned. And it was a perfect day. My mom was even like, I'll get you the ticket for your birthday. I'm like, I'm buying a ticket because it's rated R and I can finally do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be able to say when I go to backseat directing in 7 years from now that I did that.
That's the plan.
But no, it was such a great movie. And
Priorities straight.
yeah.
I saw.
Do what? Sorry.
I don't want to interrupt, Troy.
No, you're good.
I saw a video the other day that was when he's injecting himself, like when he's like leaning over on the tree or whatever, and it was like me when the 16-year-old in the gym is repping my max weight, and he's like,
Yeah. It took a turn for Wolverine because like it went full gore. It borrowed from the Old Man Logan storyline.
It really is what Wolverine needed too. Like
Yeah,
an R-rated Wolverine. I mean, his power is metal claws that like come out of his hands. Like, come on, you need blood and like limbs being removed.
Yeah.
Not even to
Decapitation.
mention his personality and attitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is perfectly fitting. That's like having a Punisher movie being PG-13.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's also just like a quality movie. Like it feels kind of like a Western because it's borrowing from Western influences,
Mhm.
and that's not something that James Mangold, who directed it, is unfamiliar with. And I think it was so well written. I think it actually got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars that year. In the trailer, that Johnny Cash cover of "Hurt"
I
is
hurt
so good.
myself
Today. It's a fantastic movie, and it was the perfect send off at the time for Wolverine. It's been reversed, but that's okay. Multiverse, you know. So
You were right about
Undone.
the Oscar.
I was okay. Cool. I think it may have gotten a couple other nominations, but I don't remember. I just know it got adapted screenplay.
Not for the Oscar.
Okay, that was the only one.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, I mean it was deserved for sure because it was just very beautifully written and one of Hugh Jackman's all-time performances
Yeah.
for sure. So
I really like the scene when Professor X is going through one of his, what did you call it, like seizures or whatever, where
yeah, like his headaches.
the whole world is like frozen, and we see Logan like kind of crawling through the hallway,
Yeah.
and you got all these like bad guys that are trying to get close to Professor X, and you got the guy right next to the door, and Logan just slowly brings up his claw,
Yeah,
and then
it's
right through his
that scene's
head
so
and
good.
comes back
And
out.
Patrick Stewart too. Like Patrick
Yeah.
Stewart was amazing in that
Yeah.
movie.
Phenomenal.
So good.
I think you should rewatch it, Andrew. I know it's been a while since you've seen it.
Yeah, I'll rewatch it.
You know,
I
huge.
think you'll like it. I think you'll
Not
like
huge
it
on it.
more.
But I haven't seen it since it came out.
Yeah, I think you'll
Oh
like
yeah,
it more.
give
now.
it another shot. Yeah, it's so good, really good.
I think I'm gonna try to go for the win with this, rather than taking my personal.
We
pick.
said Quantumania was out of.
Lost Quantumania. Say that again. It's fantastic. Guys, I think I got it. Okay, so for my final pick, the final pick of the draft again, because I keep going last, I'm going to take, believe it or not, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2.
That's a good pick. Yeah.
I feel like my list has a lot of picks like maybe that are a little bit older because the only thing I have that's like past 2014 is Infinity War. So my picks are like a little bit older in terms of comic book movies, but I think Spider-Man 2 is the best of the Sam Raimi trilogy, and it's definitely one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. When you come to comic book movies, I feel like I have to get a specifically Spider-Man movie on my team, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not pick a Spider-Man movie? Aaron, do you have a Spider-Man movie?
No, he doesn't.
Nope.
Because I feel like Spider-Man is just such a big name in the wheelhouse of comic book movies. Like, I saved it till 5th because I feel like there's so many good ones.
It's my second favorite superhero.
Yeah. Mine too, after Batman.
Same.
But I think that Spider-Man 2 is potentially the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten. For me, it's either that or TASM 1. I know that's not the most popular one, but I really love
It's
TASM
good.
1.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man 2, it has such iconic shots and fight action like set pieces where the fight in the bank and then the fight on the train, that shot leading up to the fight on the train where they're like watching Spider-Man swing down the streets of New York and it zooms in and it comes out of a reflection in Doc Ock's glasses is like one of the most iconic shots in movie history, one of the coolest shots ever. But also just the practical application of like a director like Sam Raimi and his experiences with low budget horror, doing like horror elements with practical like
Yeah, that scene
claws
in the
yeah,
surgery room.
filmed exactly like a horror scene in a totally different movie, but works so well in this movie. He fit onto Spider-Man just like a glove when he did the Spider-Man movies. The trilogy is great no matter what you think about 3, but I think 2 is the strongest. Even if 1 has like the most sentimental value to my childhood because I watched it over and over again. As an adult, 2 is like the best one.
I agree with that. Yeah.
They have such good villains in those movies. I mean, Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe are both such good villains, but 2 is just, ugh, man. I mean, the character journey for Spider-Man of struggling with not being Spider-Man and deciding like the responsibilities, like element has to come. I feel like they hit the guilt component of Spider-Man so well, which I feel like guilt is such a big part of who Spider-Man is, especially as I continue to read Spider-Man comics. Like before I read Spider-Man comics, I was like, why is Spider-Man always complaining about being Spider-Man? And then I read the comics and I was like, oh, that's because like that's who Spider-Man is. Like it's not something that he wants to do, it's something that he needs to do and he's compelled to do. And his
a lot
grandfather
of weight on his shoulders for being so young.
Well, Spider-Man, like in the comics, I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man. There's a portion where he's like injured, and it's like another person takes on the Spider-Man persona, like a villain, puts on his costume and is hurting people. And like there's so much guilt tied into that. It's like he feels like when people are getting hurt is his fault when he's not out there being Spider-Man, and then that's magnified when somebody else is wearing his costume. So also like the component of Spider-Man always getting so much hate is a lot in this movie with J. Jonah Jameson. It's like the negative press for Spider-Man and him continuing to go on even if certain New Yorkers do hate him. It's such a fantastic movie. Like it has the elevator scene where he's going down and the guy's like, nice Spider-Man costume. Yeah, it rides up in the crotch a little bit. It has pizza time. Like, come on, iconic Spider-Man influential moment. So I think that's a great way to round out my team. I want to talk about honorable mentions though, because the 2 movies that I didn't pick are absolutely killing me. After we do recaps.
Okay. All right. To recap our lists, we'll go in the same order that we picked them in. So my team, Aaron, I have The Dark Knight, Days of Future Past, Winter Soldier, Iron Man, and Kingsman.
I'm McNeil. I have The Batman, Avengers Endgame, Man of Steel, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Logan.
I'm Andrew, and I have Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, to be clear.
Okay. I was a little confused there.
X2, Captain America Civil War, Batman Begins, and Spider-Man 2. My team has I was going to say a lot of sequels, but I guess Batman Begins is the original of the trilogy.
I have a Batman movie, an Avengers movie, a Superman movie, a Spider-Man movie, and a Wolverine movie. That's a winning ticket right there.
Avengers movie, X-Men movie.
You have 2 Avengers movies.
No, Avengers movie, X-Men movie, Captain America movie with a lot of X-Men, a Batman movie, and a Spider-Man movie.
I have to say mine too. I have a Batman movie, a X-Men movie, a Captain America movie, Iron Man, and the only non-superhero comic movie that we picked.
I don't feel like that like necessarily earns you any extra points though. In my eyes.
Even if it doesn't, I'm still really happy with my team, and I would have.
The one that I was considering for that category was V for Vendetta.
That's the one that
I'm surprised you didn't pick it.
Yeah, me too. That movie's in my top 10 movies of all time, and I think I might put it even in top 5. I love that movie. I watch it multiple times every year, especially on the 5th of November. But I don't think audiences at large like it quite as much as I do. I mean, if I'm my final pick, I'm looking at Spider-Man 2 and V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta, yeah.
It's like I want V for Vendetta because I like it better, but I think like who his audience is going to vote for, V for Vendetta or Spider-Man 2. Like they're going to vote for Spider-Man 2.
I'm with you on that. V for Vendetta is really good. Another one I thought of was A History of Violence, which is a Viggo Mortensen movie directed by I don't remember who. I think it might have been wasn't Cronenberg, something like that. I don't know, but it's really really good.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
fantastic.
The other big one for me was The Watchmen. At 5, I was up until my turn like almost came around. I was literally just dead set on picking V for Vendetta. And then I was thinking about what I said to you, where I was like, your last pick can tank your team because it leaves a taste in the audience's mouth. They think about your last pick the most. So I was like, no, if I pick V for Vendetta, they're gonna be like, oh, like I maybe haven't even seen that one. So I was like, let me change it to Spider-Man 2, and I think that'll win me more votes. But
Logan.
I love V for Vendetta and I love Watchmen. So I love V for Vendetta more. But those are two like well, I guess Watchmen is technically DC, but it's not like mainline DC. But those two, man. Oh, also V for Vendetta is also DC.
Yeah.
But like they're just not mainline DC. But those movies are so good, and I love how they're. If you like watch a lot of superhero movies, you can go watch those ones and kind of get like a fresh taste because it's like a different world and a little bit different vibe. And then my third one after that was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I'm not huge on that one.
I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's so funny, hilarious. I die laughing watching it, and it's just like very unique filmed kind of movie. It's like very
It is unique. Yeah.
out of this world, different kind of filming.
Yeah.
Fantastical stuff.
I also thought about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm a huge fan of that movie, and Joker as well. But I know you're not huge on that one.
I didn't think about either of those at all.
I like both of those a lot. Those are like some close honorable mentions for me.
Anything else that you had an honorable mention?
Not that really hasn't been said already.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? The listeners, the ones that are going to crown the champion of this comic movie draft. Make sure you leave your vote down below. You can vote in the comments of the YouTube, of the Spotify, or any of the social media clips that we're putting out on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's all of them.
TikTok, YouTube, or I always say them in the same order.
Yeah.
Now I'm all messed up. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, Threads. We're not really on X and Threads though.
We're just waiting for someone to tell us.
Yeah,
that we're
we're
not
on
on
Facebook,
anymore.
Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's be real.
Yeah. But we appreciate you watching. Be sure to share us with friends. That's the best way to make this channel grow. If you want to join in on the conversation even more, you can join our Discord. It is totally free.
McNeil's in there.
Yeah.
McNeil is in there. We talk about a bunch of different movie topics. Some of our Patreons. Some of our
I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
some of the people in the Discord are sharing their own personal work that they're working on, whether it's Dan, the CGI man. We have an artist that shares their work in there too.
Scroll Reaper.
Yep. So we take episode suggestions. So the Discord is pretty active, especially as of lately. So,
Arron's shirtless pics.
of course.
That's why I signed up.
He was like, "Can I pay extra for the bonus content?"
You come for the shirtless pics and then you stay for the movies.
Yeah.
That's how we get them.
Interesting choice of words. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap.